Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Ready to revolutionise your approach to patient care? Join the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine at the 29th Annual World Congress, December the 11th to the 13th, 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Unpack the latest research in integrative medicine using the code LDN200 to save $200 off this transformative event. Visit www.a4m.com to learn more. I'd like to welcome back my guest today, Dr. Tara Thompson. And Tara joined Innovative Compounding in 2012 to advance her clinical mindset by focusing on women's health and pursuing her love of compounding using evidence-based approach to research and developing patient-specific drugs. So, thank you for joining us again today, Tara.
Thank you, Miss Linda.
So, since we last spoke, what's been happening in your pharmacy?
Well, we are currently still moving forward amidst, everything that's been going on in the world. We're still moving forward with we're a sterile and non-sterile compounding pharmacy, so still doing all of those medications for our patients. We've kind of changed a couple things up, about, the way that we have patients coming into the pharmacy, and we're definitely shipping out more medications these days. In the United States, you have to be licensed in, the particular state that you are shipping to. So we're licensed in 47 states, so we can ship to 47 states in the United States. So we're still doing a whole lot more shipping these days than as we were, before the pandemic. So
do you think in time, everything is going to change. Nothing is going to be as it was before in some way or another. Do you think people will choose to have their medications shipped afterwards as a choice rather than collecting?
I think most people like the convenience of it, especially, with gas prices and that kind of thing. They'd rather just get it shipped to them than drive, anywhere to get it. I think it's more convenient for people. We do have those patients, though, who live around here locally, and they do like to come in and look at our supplements and talk. And so we still have that as well. But the majority of people, I can say, do prefer for it to be shipped. So, we'll continue to have that.
So as a pharmacy, the more that people want medications shipped, you will need more staff to talk on the telephone, answering questions. But whether you are talking on the phone or talking to them face to face, you still need the pharmacy staff to do that. But people may choose that way of doing it because, of course, anybody who's taking LDN or wants to know about supplements, etc., can call you anyway. That's the norm, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely. As a pharmacist, we counsel every patient on their prescription. We want to make sure that they're taking it correctly at the right time of day. Especially with topical preparations or things that need to be measured out, that they're getting the proper measurements and that type of thing. And sometimes that's hard to do over the phone, especially when you're trying to teach somebody how to open a suppository or how to calibrate a certain, dosing mechanism to where they know they're getting the right amount. So we do try to make, here at our pharmacy, we do videos that we put on our website so that they can go watch those too, and just try to make it easier for those patients that we do have to talk to over the phone.
With your women's health, Tara, what have you found LDN works well for?
So we started looking at LDN from a dermatology standpoint, And we did see that there was a study out there talking about that it helped with pruritus at a 1% dose, which is itching. So we started looking at it for itching on the skin. However, we had a couple patients who were having vaginal itching, and so the first thing that came to mind for me was now 1%. And so I talked to the doctor about that, and tried it for patients for vaginal itching. And it seemed to help them a lot. So we kind of went that route with a lot of our vaginal products. And I'm seeing that. I know it's used in women for pain and vulvodynia, vestibulodynia, and that type of thing as well. But itching and the pruritus is really what we found very helpful for as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any patient case histories you could share with us?
Sure, we have a few patients, but the one that sticks out was our first one because she came to us. She had other issues as well. Aged woman, no prior past medical history that was significant of any type, and she was already on some preparation for our topical hormone therapy. So she came to us with vaginal itching. She wasn't at the age or in menopause yet to where she needed to worry about any type of vaginal atrophy or anything like that. She had good vaginal mucosa. It was all healthy and supple. So what happened was she was saying that she was a lot of vaginal itching. Well, to us as pharmacists, our first thing we think of when we hear about vaginal itching is either some sort of yeast infection, UTI, bacterial infection, something like that. So of course I, recommended that she go back to her doctor and ask, tell her doctor these symptoms as well and see what the doctor had to say or recommend. And the doctor actually called me a couple weeks later and said this patient is just having kind of just strange little itching. She does not have a bacterial infection. She does not have a UTI. She does not have a yeast infection. It's just a random itching that she gets every now and then. And so I had previously been studying Naltrexone from a dermatological standpoint and had remembered and read about the 1% Naltrexone being used for that. So I recommended that to the doctor. The doctor was kind of hesitant, wasn't quite sure about Naltrexone. I sent her the study. I sent her, some more information that we had using, the LDN Research Trust website and that type of thing, kind of guiding her towards more information about low-dose naltrexone in general. And the doctor was amenable to go ahead and trying it. And sure enough, that worked for the patient. She was very happy with it. She kind of, she used it on a daily basis, but also some days, and she felt like she may not need it. And it tended to work really, really good for her and got rid of, the itching problem. So that was a really good case study that we fed off, and we've used that in many other patients there since if they've presented with the same issues.
Mm-hmm.
Board with that treatment, more so now that she's seen a patient that it worked in.
Yes. I mean, itching wherever you have it is bad enough, isn't it? If you can't stop the itch, terrible. And what other case studies have you had, or people, giving you feedback?
From a dermatological standpoint, we've had patients who itching on the skin as a result of maybe some sort of plaque psoriasis or eczema type or rash or skin condition that they previously had that they were being treated for. But just that itch, that pruritus that kind of went along with it was the one thing that they just couldn't, it bothered them the most almost. So we've done the naltrexone in them too, which seemed to work really, really well. It's a very popular treatment for that here at our pharmacy, just because we believe in it and we've seen it. But of course, there's always the oral low-dose naltrexones, of course, that we standard low-dose dosing that we've seen for, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, and that type of thing. Great success with those as well.
So with your skin dermatological people who are using LDN, do you use a topical, a cream, I'm so naive. I thought a topical and a cream was the same until one pharmacist explained the difference to me. So do you use it externally as well as orally when you're treating skin? How do you tackle a skin problem?
So for the particularly for pruritus or the itching, we use a topical preparation. So on the skin, we use a lotion or a cream, and then vaginally we use a pH balance. So it is just that we don't use an oral LDN for the itching per se, because it's more itching is they can target it to a specific spot. Mm-hmm. So the cream or the lotion or the topical preparation works great for them. They can put it exactly where the itch is.
And how do they know?
Vaginal as well. So,
how do they know how much to use?
The study that we've found that we're using kind of to base our information on is a 1%, and that's 10 milligrams per gram. So we recommend them using the full gram.
But how do you measure?
Just because that's what.
Yeah. How if you tell somebody to use a gram or anything, how do they know how much that is? Because it's not like taking a capsule or taking 5 mils on a spoon or in a baby syringe or something. How do you actually accurately measure that out?
So we use particular devices like clicker devices. I don't know if you've heard of those before, but we calibrate them to where they know exactly how many clicks to turn from the base, and that gets them exactly 1 gram. So we calibrate it depending on the density of the cream. Mm-hmm. And then vaginally, same thing. We have a clicker device that's a vaginal clicker device. And we tell them on the label and on the phone, we say, apply 4 clicks or 5 clicks or whatever it is, depending on the density, to know exactly how much 1 gram is.
Okay. Just to change the subject for a moment, and I was thinking of it while you were talking, because you do sterile as well as non-sterile, do you do LDN eye drops?
We have not. We have not gotten into that realm. I have seen it used that way and also in pellets, but we've not done those here at our pharmacy, unfortunately, yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It seems to be very popular. Very difficult to have made in the UK. There are so many rules and regulations. We don't have compounding pharmacies like you do. But that's a shame. They seem to work really well. So maybe somebody's out there listening, or a doctor who's thinking he's got a patient, he or her has a patient that has dry eye or Sjogren's syndrome or something like that, where eye drops have been used to seem to be working quite successfully.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely something we would be, interested in looking into in the future. Of course, there's a lot of testing and everything involved, but it can be something that, if you see it beneficial to your pharmacy and your formulary, that, could be added.
Because I think you do eye drops anyway, don't you?
We do eye drops. Just not that particular one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brilliant. So children, do you compound LDN especially for children?
I've seen a couple oral solutions that have been made for children, flavored solutions in the 4.5 milligram or 3 milligram, even, 0.5 and 1 milligram per milliliter dosing. Yes, I have seen that done in children.
Mm-hmm. And have you had any feedback from parents?
Not necessarily. I know that their children definitely are responding to it and are taking it well. They are getting their refills. So that's always a good sign when they're getting refills. It means, it must be either working or, at least they're being compliant so that we can see if it does help them, in the long run. But yeah, definitely a good drug that we have on our formulary as well for children.
Mm-hmm. And you use hormone replacement therapies. Do you use that alongside of LDN?
Usually in our vaginal preparations we do, but that's really where I've seen it done the most. We can mix it also with, say, we're taking a vaginal estrogen or a vaginal testosterone. It can also be mixed in those preparations as well. So for pain or for the itching or that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. But I was just wondering if patients have to be careful taking LDN who are on thyroid medications.
Yeah, I'm sure that would, be something that we would look at too, since it can modulate some of the thyroid actions as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to a patient who is contemplating trying LDN? And if you've been sick for a long time and you've been to doctor and you still feel terrible, and especially some doctors telling you it's all in your head, you're imagining all these symptoms that you present, and they would like to try LDN, but they're a bit worried, it's just another drug, it might not work for me, does it have side effects, what's it going to do for me? What advice would you give a patient that is contemplating trying LDN?
Definitely when they come to me asking if there's anything else and they have a condition that I know that LDN is a good they're a good candidate for LDN, I always refer them to either your website or some of the studies that we've found, our website, that type of thing, and let them know that it has been studied in several, different conditions, and depending on what they have as well, Lyme disease, that type of thing. So I definitely give them all the information and education about it. I recommend that, you can always start off at a very, very, very low dose, like a milligram, a 1 milligram, and just see how it goes and just gradually build up over time. You don't have to start off at the high dose or anything like that. You can certainly start low and go slow and try to avoid any type of adverse effects or anything that they would be worried about. Mm-hmm. But, there are people, I believe one of the patients that she had some sort of GI motility issue, and her doctor was asking about LDN for that. And so, I hadn't used in that until I started looking into it, and it did have, a couple studies about that. So we recommended LDN, starting her off very low, like 1.5 milligrams, and just titrating up over time. And that seemed to really work for her. So, there's just so many different cases that you can recommend it for. And especially if they've tried everything else, or, they're kind of at their wit's end, they're ready to get, opinion and try something new. It is something I think about when, I see a patient that has one of those conditions that it's been studied so much in the different ones.
And in the time that you've been compounding LDN, has anybody ever notified you of any adverse side effects?
Of course, they don't feel as well on it, or they're having trouble sleeping, that type of thing. But it's usually when patients start off at the higher dose, or the 4.5 dose, or the 6 milligram dose. And, to that, I would always just tell people to, we'd get back with their doctor, get them started on a much lower dose and titrate them up. Because I don't think for some patients, it's something they can just jump right into. I think they have to kind of, taper on the dose over time. And that really gets rid of a lot of, any adverse effects or events or anything that patients are worried about if they start off low. So I'm pretty conservative in my dosing, and I'm always, start with 1 milligram or start with a half a milligram, start with 1.5. Just, you never know how the patient's going to react to something. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I think everyone should start low and slowly taper up instead of going straight to the 4.5 or 6 or 7 milligram dose.
Well, what can I say? Thank you so much for having been our guest. Yeah, we'll have you back another day, Tara, and good luck to you, and stay safe.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me. It's good to talk to you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Ready to revolutionise your approach to patient care? Join the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine at the 29th Annual World Congress, December the 11th to the 13th, 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Unpack the latest research in integrative medicine using the code LDN200 to save $200 off this transformative event. Visit www.a4m.com to learn more. Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.